Welcome to the Entrepreneurial CEO Podcast, where we dive into the real stories behind building and scaling a business. Each episode, we sit down with CEOs, founders, and leaders to uncover hard-won lessons in leadership, systems, and team building. Listen in each week to learn directly from real business leaders who have been in your shoes, had success, made the mistakes, and all of the messiness that comes with building a business. If you're ready to learn from real-world leaders and gain insights you can apply today, you're in the right place. So let's get started. Hey everyone, welcome back. Dave, thanks for being here, man.
No problem. Good to see you.
All right. Everybody, today's guest is Dave Kooiman, founder and president of Arena Staffing, which started back in 2017. They are about to celebrate their 9th birthday, almost at 10 years, which is amazing. They are based in Southern California. Arena Staffing provides skilled labor placement for the trades, construction, industrial, HVAC, plumbing across multiple states. Dave is a longtime MAP client, worked with Lee Frostchasser just as I did, and is a MAP advocate. And so we'd love to learn more about how they're using MAP and more about Arena Staffing. It's crucial for all the different trade-based businesses that we work with. So Dave, thanks so much for being here, man.
No problem. Thanks for having me. Great catching up with you. And how are things on the East Coast over there in Boston?
We're in the middle of a heat wave. It's miserably hot and humid, but aside from that, we got some sunshine, so I can't complain.
We're about to get hot too, but we don't deal with the humid, so at least we got the dry heat.
You get that dry heat.
Yeah.
Dave, before I go into all sorts of questions, maybe just tell us about Arena Staffing.
Yeah, Arena has been around, like you said. I think it's kind of funny going back. We're probably right at 9 years. Effectively started as Arena Staffing January 1, 2017. And again, I started this off as kind of go on my own kind of thing. I worked in corporate America all the way from 2002 up until 2017. And, some decisions and circumstances out of my control where either I go and join another company or start my own thing. So I started it as kind of, hey, I know construction. I'm just going to start my own little thing, and I'm going to be a one-man show, spend more time with my family, and just kind of like hire a few people and just run a $2-3 million company. And just over time, as I built it, I found out that I've worked with a lot of people and built a lot of trust with a lot of people in staffing. And so when I hired the first guy, we kind of worked out pretty good. And then we needed to hire another payroll manager. And then opportunities came in Los Angeles. And it's just kind of snowballed without really running ads to hire people. It's just kind of been organic growth of hiring really good people who have good relationships within the industry and growing for the last years. And it's been a lot of fun through that part of it. We primarily operate in Southern California with 5 physical brick and mortars here. We do have an office in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, where we have some of our direct hire team, but direct hires moved to a lot more remote and hybrid work. We got recruiters in Colorado and Idaho, Florida, Texas, kind of all over the map where they're working the direct hire side. But on the construction side, we really help companies in California mitigate their risk because it's a very difficult state to work in, as you know. It's a very litigious state. So we help them, a lot of mechanical, electrical, plumbing contractors, but we do help general contractors who self-perform as well, and we do hire in longer-term labor but we really stick to the construction niche. We trademarked "We Construct Your Future" kind of right after we got going back in the day. We couldn't believe it was available, but we got it. And we truly try to live our days, day in and day out as recruiters, is trying to help people get jobs that they're looking for, or finding flexible jobs where you may have a guy who's a 1099 contractor and does plumbing on the side, but every once in a while he's looking for a 3 or 4 week assignment as a plumber or an electrician. We just offer flexibility on both sides of the house. We kind of go to the client and say, hey, what's your magic wand? What are you looking for? And it may be a large electrical contractor coming into Bakersfield, California to do a massive project for California Dairies, for Big D Construction. And we help them out with 10 to 15 electricians for 9 to 12 months. And it may be someone who's looking for a temp to hire. Hey, I'm looking for a guy that can do this. And we allow the guy to get hired after 1,040 hours, where we actually construct the guy's future and he gets the full-time job over there. And then on the executive side of the house, estimators, director of construction, CEOs, controllers, anything within the construction niche where we can help construction companies find the executives that they're looking for. So, we're probably up to good 60, 65 internal operations, recruiters, and sales people. And, we probably we're in the thousands on W-2s on a year. But again, some of those W-2s are 8 hours. Sometimes they're 16 hours. Sometimes they're 2,000 hours for the entire year. But yeah, it's been a fun ride, and we're having a lot of fun doing it.
That's incredible, man. Congrats on the growth.
Yeah, thank you.
And organic.
Organic. Yep. Absolutely organic.
Can't beat that. Can't beat that.
No.
Not having to spend a bunch of ads.
That has to do with the relationships of the people we hire, right? And we go and we try to build trust every day with clients, and we discover their needs, and we're very aware that people don't care who we are or what we're going to do. We need to find out what their problems are and see if we can solve them. And if we can solve them, we grow. If we can't solve them, we move on to the next customer where they may have a problem. So everybody's needs different in construction, for sure.
Is that also must be a testament to the demand, the supply and demand, right? That you're filling a need. And I mean, anecdotally, I'm not in the HVAC space, but you hear about that. Like, it's hard to find people in the trades. You're hard to find skilled labor. And so it must be just like, man, people really need this. They need your services.
Yeah. I mean, so I've been doing this since 2003. And we had problems in 2003, 04, 05. We had a huge electrical shortage back then as well. But now it's different because the baby boomers, and I think if you look into baby boomers, the work ethic that they had, like for years and years, we had kind of our go-to baby boomers, those guys, and kind of like right now they'd be pushing 60, 65, right, into their 70s. Those were our go-to guys where, man, they would just do the job and they would go, right? Mm-hmm. Then when COVID hit, there was a little scare of COVID where they're like, hey, I don't know if I should go on assignment, even though it was essential services. And they're actually really, really good employees. Well, they started to kind of figure out how to do it on their own or go do some residential stuff, have a little bit more time to spend time with their family and go through that kind of stuff. And meanwhile, the younger generation just isn't getting into the trades. So you have the baby boomer generation going away. So you don't have any of those people available for the trades anymore. And then the younger generation is video games and they're going to do different stuff. And in fact, I'll give you this scenario. We just had a sales meeting a few weeks ago, and out of 20 people in the room, I said, hey, stand up if you want your kid to be in MEP, in mechanical, electrical, plumbing. How many out of 20 do you think stood up?
One, a handful.
So two.
Yeah.
Two. And what I said to them, I said, our job is to get into the high schools, the local high schools, and find those two families where the parents support those kids getting the trades. And we make sure they understand what their path is, their options, right? If they want to go union and they have union, that's great. But if they don't want to go union and they want to do it based on merit, let's get them plugged into the ABC. Let's sponsor them to get in the ABC. Let's go to our mechanical, electrical, plumbing candidates and go, hey, we have a high school kid that's punctual, that has reliable transportation, that literally knows he wants to be an electrician. Let's get him into the apprenticeship program as soon as possible, get him trained to be an ET electrician, and let's get him on assignment. And by year 4, year 5, these people are making more money than college kids coming out with $50,000 in debt. Yeah. And if we can educate the parents on that process, even in private schools, right? Even in a private Christian school, there's still going to be 8 to 10% of those kids that they're going to want to work with their hands. They're not going to want to go to college, right? So what we want to do is we kind of want to be a gateway to the skilled trades for younger generations, give them opportunities where, yeah, certainly it helps our revenues when they're on assignment with us, but we also want to help our clients getting these people into it. So that's kind of where we're shifting to over the next few years. Certainly, we're going to help with the projects and the out-of-state contractors that come in and they need the help for 3 to 4 weeks. We're going to help with the clients that have tough to fill orders, right? The purple squirrels is what we call it, where I need a guy that can do this kind of thing. But also, if we can help educate the younger generation that the skilled trades gap's only going to get worse. It's not going to get better. And construction is never going to go away. Our one of our largest offices, Los Angeles, just because it's old infrastructure there. There's always going to be infrastructure that needs to be updated and redone. I mean, Boston's probably the same way, right? There's always going to be construction that needs to be on tenant improvements and hospitals and upgrades and everything that goes with it. So construction is not going to go away. And the skilled trades people are retiring more and more by the year. We're going to have to get people to fill that gap. And that's part of our job is to try to help do that.
I feel like we could talk. I could talk 30 minutes just about this topic because it's so interesting to me. Because you have all these things happening where it's like, um, you have the boomers who are retiring and maybe even have businesses, but they've nobody to pass it down to because their sons or daughters don't want it, and so a large percentage of them now they're selling their businesses. But then you also have this generation that there's always been a little bit of a stigma around going into the trades and not going to college, but it's kind of crazy because there's great money in the trades and there's so much demand for it. There's always people that need HVAC and plumbing and electrical and everything. So I'm surprised that it's not shifting. I wonder if it will shift or what's going to make it shift.
And I think it will over time, right? And again, the people that say, hey, I don't want to be an electrician my entire life. Well, I can't count on two hands how many clients I have that started as electricians that are now their own CEO, right?
Right.
They started their own electric. Some of them have 3 electricians that are them. Some of them are a one-man show, and some of them grew to have 80 to 100 electricians, right? There's plenty of room. This is the Entrepreneurial Podcast for those who are business savvy that go out and do that trade, where down the road they can build their own business and start it. And that's what's great about California and starting in America. Anywhere you're going, you can start your own business and you can grow it. So there's 100%. Definitely opportunities.
And it's a great market to be in. I totally agree with you. So you're a MAP client. Tell me about how did you start with MAP? What led you to MAP?
That's interesting, right? Because I think we were, I'd have to go back and ask Carrie when we started, if it was pre-COVID or right after COVID. I don't even remember. It's been a while. But I remember we were kind of at a meeting with an OSHPD contractor, which is now HCI in California. And there's some of my best clients where because hospitals are always going to have some kind of wing or some kind of renovation or some kind of addition. And we were talking to the client, and I was trying to train my salesperson to make sure that when we're talking to a self-performing general contractor like this, we still want to ask, hey, who do you use for your subcontractors, right? Who do you use in mechanical, electrical, plumbing? And so we were going through those questions, and out of that came MAP came out of one of the subcontractors that was using them. And then they also said, actually, we use MAP. And then I believe Carrie's wife actually worked at that client. And I go, well, tell me more about MAP. And then all of a sudden, Carrie started calling me and selling me on MAP. And at that time, I wasn't in a place to spend money. I didn't want to, I think, it's a significant investment having someone leave your company for 2 or 3 days. And especially if they're out of state, to fly them in, to go down to Newport Beach and do it. I wasn't in that place where like, oh, sure, Carrie, I'm going to go drop $5,000 and lose them and then have them do the coaching afterwards. But as I talked to Carrie, I just said, hey, don't tell me, show me. So he actually started giving me references. And Carrie, to his credit, gives me all these reputable subcontractors and contractors that are in our funnel to try to get business, where now I could call them and go, hey, I'm calling for a reference on MAP. They say you use it. And I was talking to CEOs that were telling me that they were still talking to their MAP consultant every week, like literally having one-on-ones for 30 years. I was like, whoa, you're talking about a CEO of this massive general contractor that has a one-on-one with Ben every week, and someone that we want as a client, or we want their subcontractors as a client. I'm like, I think I probably just need to check this MAP thing out for synergies. So truth be told, I joined MAP for the business development part of it. I didn't even join it because I wanted to know the management principles, or someone to tell me about the Pareto principle, or who A players are, or what my vital factors are. I did not join it for that. I literally showed up, and I think my gal at the time was managing Orange County and San Diego, Carla. She's now my vice president of operations. She went to one class and I went to another class, and I ended up with Lee's class. And it was super emotional for Lee because it was his last class. So I was like, wow, this is actually kind of cool. And then I realized Lee wrote the book, right? So I was like, okay. And then I kind of fell in love with it. And I was like, man, I came out of there motivated. I'm like, man, if every one of my managers could go through this. So I went there through the business development. And Andrew, even no kidding, the first thing I did when I went through it, it was all the people that were in my class. I'm looking on LinkedIn, who they are, who they know, and I'm passing leads to my sales reps while I'm in the class. I'm worried about business development, right? I said, just reference MAP. Yeah. And to this day, do we reference MAP? Like on our national account side, we'll see someone make a comment on Michael Cato, and we're like, well, they must know Michael. So I tell my national sales guy, call them and reference MAP. So I think there's this kind of like network of alumni where they kind of understand what we're going through in the vital factors. And for those who stick with it and go through the process, and those that I refer, like, hey, going into MAP isn't gonna, like, you're just gonna instantly have this huge change in organization. You have to stick with it and you got to go through it. I even hired a full-time corporate culture guy who's literally helping with that. And it's a battle, and vital factors are going to change, but that's kind of my story and how I got onto it. So now when people call me and they ask, and they're struggling with their controller, the CFO, and having cash flow conversations, they're struggling with the laws in California or wherever and with growth, and they're struggling with their sales team and going through that. I use MAP, and I spend the money on MAP more than I do on Convene or Vistage or other CEO peer groups, because I actually get access to other CEOs that understand the MAP language, and I can call them. And actually, that's actually not a bad idea. Maybe we should start some of these CEO peer groups through the MAP alumni. But that's where I've decided. So when someone calls me, an electrical contractor calls me like, hey, Kooiman, you've grown, or hey, you've done this, I refer them to MAP because it works. And even I just tell them, hey, even if you don't want to invest the money for your whole company to go through it, it's great for you yourself to go through this process, because it's kind of a full, well, that's part of your process. You do kind of a 360 review on yourself with your company, right? So that was really eye-opening for me to have people, and probably 5, 6, 7 years into my company, giving me review on me, right? That in itself was valuable right there. And then
Thanks, incredibly.
Yeah, and then the other big piece that we implemented, that MAP really honed on, was DISC, the personality profiles. So that they just do a fantastic job of really honing into whether you're a high D, the S, the C, because obviously I have a lot of sales and recruiting, so I got a lot of high I's. So just making sure my high I's understand where my operation teams fits and how we talk to each other. And then just trying to review that on a quarterly or a yearly basis where we're circling back to that. So that's kind of a long answer to how I ended up with MAP. And but yeah, I mean, I'm on this call taking the time to do this because I'm super grateful for what MAP has done for my organization.
That's awesome, man. How do you guys do you do a DISC assessment for every new person that joins the team so you understand their style?
Hi, if you're a CEO out there who's struggling with focus for your company, aligning your team, accountability, if you're struggling with execution, connecting the dots from where you're at to where you want to be, we've got a great program for you here at MAP. My name is Michael Cato. I'm the CEO. Most importantly, I was a client for 15 years, sold my company to a public company, and then bought MAP so that we can help other entrepreneurs with this specific problem. We're a 60-year-old company. We've worked with 170,000 individual executives and CEOs. We've worked with 15,000 organizations. This is what we do. Click the link below to learn a little bit more about how people just like you, CEOs, have transformed their business and ultimately transformed their life by running through the MAP system.
Yes, we would have to ask Dan to make sure he's doing it.
But in theory.
Yeah. If you literally go out to our wall out here, I don't know if he has natural or adapted, but we have on this massive, right by our kind of our game room in the back, where we got a shuffleboard and a pool table back there. We have everyone's stickers where they fit on the profile, right? So one of the coolest exercises, we hired a guy to do some beach activity, team building exercise one time, and I just told him what we do with DISC. So he asked for our company profile. So literally we went on the beach one time, and he had these ropes that had the big circle, and everyone stood in their profile. And so what he did, he looked at the guys at the D's and going, hey, do you like to be talked to this way? And everyone's like, yep. And there wasn't really one person ever in all the years we do it in January every year, where somebody goes, no, that's not me. Right. And then you go like, hey, do you like to be talked to this? Do you want to be left alone? Or do these salespeople annoy you? Yeah, you know what I mean? Like we go through that part of it, and it just helps. And we forget it on a regular basis. So it's just nice to every once in a while stop and go, hey, who are you talking to? Right. And do you understand how they think and how their brain processes information? And there's so much stuff out there, right? You can talk about Enneagrams, you can talk about strength finders, right? There's all kinds of stuff. We just decide to stick to DISC and stick with it because it works. It's simple. So we like with it.
I've always found it to be super helpful too. And you're right, you have to be intentional, because look, you can learn anything, but unless you have the reinforcement, unless you're intentional about how you use it, it slips over time, right? You're going to forget it. So one of the things we do is before big meetings with our leadership team, we'll look at the disc profiles and how the do's and the don'ts for each. And it's just like it level sets, right? And gets you ready for how you should communicate better with each person on the team.
Yep, for sure.
What when you think about like some of the clients that you work with, some that you might say, hey, you should check out MAP. What are like some of the things they're doing, or what are the areas they need to improve? Or maybe another way to answer the question is like, what changes have you seen at your organization, at Arena Staffing, pre and post MAP?
Yeah, I'd say what the vital factors do for us, which is a kind of a buzzword, right? Focus on the vital few is what they say. It really takes us back to the heartbeat of our organization, right? So when we're getting into a meeting, like what's the most important thing we need to focus on, right? Because a lot of times you get caught up in emotion, or you get caught in a client you may have just lost, or you get caught in some kind of litigation where there's a lot of noise and distraction, especially in our world in staffing, right? You just get caught. What it does is it takes us back. So if you're a recruiter, it takes you back to like focusing on what's important, right? And that's probably the most important thing. When I look at clients, right, and people want to grow and they want to, they get distracted by their competitors and what they're doing. And even LinkedIn's got a little bit of Instagram, Facebook, like, look at us, this and that, right? Whereas like the MAP is the behind the scenes going, hey man, are we healthy? Are we doing what's right? What's important? Are we focusing on day sales outstanding, right? Are we focusing on cash flow? Are we focusing on, feedback from our employees? Or do people like where we're at? Are we focusing on safety, right? Are we like, what are the vital factors? And so when I look at clients and people who just focus and they grow so stinking fast, right? You may be focusing on some vital factors, but you're forgetting about other ones, right? Like we had it last week where my VP of sales is super excited about this client that is just blowing up, right? It's fantastic. And so then he talks to my payroll manager, where one of her vital factors is to try keep DSO on those larger clients at 30 days, because that's what they agreed to, right? So I called him, I said, hey, did you realize that our DSO on this client is at 52 and they are spending a significant amount of money. That's a lot of cash. And he goes, well, no, they like, I called my payroll manager, we're paying weekly, or we're getting paid weekly. And I'm like, no, what we need to focus and go back as a team to recognize like, hey, here's our vital factor. We want these type of clients at 30 days. And when they're not hitting, we need to focus on that part of it, right? So we get distracted and we think everything's going well, but yet behind the scenes, we're all so busy moving back. Whereas if at a leadership team, we can collectively go, where are we at, and focus on that. It just keeps you focused. And honestly, I can hit the pillow at night. I can go to bed with a realistic look in the mirror and going, here's where I'm at. Here's my risks. I mean, it's almost like a regular SWOT analysis on a weekly basis, right?
Yeah.
Like, here's our opportunities, here's our threats, here's where we're struggling, right? And here's what we're doing really well. It really helps. So yeah, for any of the companies, I work with a lot of electrical contractors that are newer, right? Because a lot of time they're using me for cash flow, right? Because they're going on and taking on more jobs than what they have and going to a bank right now at high interest rates, right? They're like, hey, I might as well use Kooiman and his team because I don't have the guys anyways. It works out really well. Where they're just so focused on doing a good job for their client that they may forget about their own risk mitigation, forget about their own collections, forget about their own paperwork with where it goes. So yeah, that's why I encourage smaller 5 to 10 to 15 to $20 million clients to go, hey man, you yourself should go to MAP and just set your own vital factors in for you, right? And then you got your general manager, or you have your fractional CFO or your controller or whatever it may be. At least you focus on the heart, the vital few, right? That's where I look at any client that's thinking about it. They need to focus on that.
I think that's great. I agree with you. Like, you could track a million things. And I think when you are tracking too many things, it's almost to your detriment because you get distracted. But what I like about MAP is that, number one, like you said, it forces you to focus on the vital few, but it also gives you that rhythm to do something about it, right? Like, okay, as a team now, we identified X is the problem that's stalling growth. Great, guys, what are we going to do about it? Right? Let's do a team consult and let's come up with 20 ideas about how we can attack the problem. And no, it's not that Jane or Tom is doing a bad job. It's just that, hey, we have this challenge now. Let's figure out how to solve it. You know?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I'll give you a great example on, we tried to have like some company-wide vital factors that made sense on the leading vital factor, right? Because lagging is really easy to do, right? And you heard me kind of talking before we got on the call, and like in staffing, lagging vital factors are old. Hey, we're talking about the P&L from June. We're looking at the hours for last week for 4th of July and how they're going to be down, right? Why are we sitting here talking about June P&L? We know we had a good month or a bad month based on branch, right? But one leading vital factor we tried that I had a lot of pushback from my entire company was the amount of phone calls, outgoing phone calls you make to clients and candidates in a day or in a week, right? And when we're doing it. And so as we went through the process, it felt very micromanager thing. Like, hey, Kooiman, I thought you started this company and we came over here because we're not the big corporate companies and the investors. We're not this, right? But my pushback was like, well, how can you construct the future of a candidate or help a client solve the problem if you're not the cause calling them, right? So part of like the least common denominator is like, hey, at minimum, you guys all got to make 25 phone calls. Well, it feels like not cool. So if one person came to me and said, well, why, instead of saying we make 25 phone calls, why don't we just require that we're required to have 25 business conversations a day or 25 recruiting conversations? That's great. So the recruiter in Phoenix can custom call it what he wants, and the recruiter in LA can call it what he wants, and the direct hire team can call it their one. But at the end of the day, we need to be having business conversations that matter. So if one branch wants to say, hey, I'm going to require 125 QAP calls a week. A QAP is a quality assurance process. Hey, here's my worker, here's his bill rate. Hey, did the worker show up? Hey, is the worker have the tools? Is he working safely, right? There's all these QAP process that we have. It doesn't matter, but at least we can agree as a company that we are going to be a cause. And we've agreed as a company that in staffing, if we're not making phone calls and calling people, right, and we're relying on email and text only, we're going to be way behind our competition, right? So that's one of the vital factors we agreed to, and we track that. And it's one of the most important one, because it's you can have a client that's at 39 days DSO, and the default nowadays is, hey, Andrew, just checking in to make sure you got the invoice for last week. And by the way, you're at 39 days and like whatever, versus picking up the phone and calling, hey, Andrew, how are things going? Are things going well with you? Hey, I just wanted to follow up about the invoice. And then you're having a conversation and you're turning it into business development as well. So to me, that the vital factor system, I wanted that years ago, but until I joined MAP, I couldn't literally put it into place where now, like, hey guys, this is a leading vital factor. This is what leads to the lagging vital factors, which for us are hours and revenue and gross profit, which leads to profitability, right?
Yep.
So that's what I've loved about the MAP system.
We have a similar thing that we track internally, right? Because we know that activity yields, right? That's leading for us too. But what's great, I think, is that you as a business leader, you're saying, look, I know that there's a correlation between calls and business growth. And so it's important for us to be tracking this and for everybody to be doing it. You're setting the tone, and that sets the culture. That's your expectation. What it's also doing is it's allowing people to self-select out, right? Like if this isn't for you, okay, well then this company isn't for you. And that's okay, but this is what we expect of people here, right? Because everybody has to do it if we're going to continue to grow and we're going to be successful, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that's great too. It's like, hey, look, this is the seat, this is the expectation. You got to do this. And if not, okay, we can find something else for you.
Sure. Yep.
So tell me about what's coming up. You guys have been in business for almost 10 years. Looking, for the next 1 to 3 years, what's next for you guys?
So we've had a great year in direct hire. We did not have a great year in direct hire in 2024, and just it's come through kind of organic growth and people knowing people. So I think I want to continue to hire more recruiters in the executive headhunting space. It's a little bit less risk. Like I told you that, the stuff that might keep you up at night in California is, we can place a guy on assignment and they have 3 years to come back and say they didn't get their meal breaks or didn't do whatever. And you can do everything right. But at the end of the day, unfortunately in California, you're guilty till you prove yourself innocent, which comes at, it comes at a cost. So for us as a whole, we're really focusing on continuing to grow that direct hire division. We've brought in incentives for our contract salespeople, who are out there every day building relationships. We want to continue to grow that part of it, because when we place people as superintendents with our clients, it leads to contract business too, right? So when we construct the future of a guy and we get him into a dream job that he wants to be part of, or like, hey, I always wanted to be with that company, we're starting to work with bigger and bigger companies. I mean, billion-dollar companies that I was scared of in the past because I was scared of their contracts and I was scared of everything that goes with it, where now we can kind of take on more of that risk. And we're looking to expand more nationwide, right? We think it just kind of diversifies outside of California. Arizona is really going well for us right now. We're into Texas. We have a very large electrical contractor in the Midwest where we're working with them on various states. So just this morning, I was on a call with a client that is going to need a lot of guys out in Florida. So we're looking to kind of expand nationwide and keep moving in that direction. And again, find people that want to be part of our culture and stick to our core values and our 4 C's and our 3 I's. And if those people come along, we've done a great job of living within our means and saving our money and survived through COVID and even grew through COVID. So we want to make sure we're hiring really good people that kind of have the same vision we do. So if someone comes to us and says, hey, I'm interested in being part of what you got going, I want to help solve the skilled trades gap and I want to help clients solve their problems, we're looking to grow. But we want to do it where we can control it, right? And that comes back to those vital factors. So when we hire or we open up a new region or we hire a new national account recruiter, like, what are your vital factors? What are your goals? And we're realistic with it. We're not just going to go, hey, let's go open up Indianapolis, Indiana. We're going to do 5 million this year, right? It's, hey, what are you going to do? Let's start with, these are the clients we can go after. Here's what the relationships we have, right? And move in that direction. So that's kind of where we're going. And by the way, I actually have my one-on-one at 10:30. So believe it or not, this is Dan. I'm going to move over here. So Dan, you might have to move a little bit. Are you cool with Dan hopping on for the rest of our call here?
I love it. Hey, Dan, nice to meet you.
I'll let Dan. So believe it or not, Dan and I grew up 3 blocks from each other, and we didn't talk business till 30 years later.
30 years later.
And he lives in Redlands, California. I live in Ontario, California. And now he's, Dan, what's your title?
Corporate coach.
Corporate coach, right? So he's responsible to keep those core values that we have with Arena: authentic relationships, ethics and character, nurture, and all in. And then our 4 C's and our 3 I's. And then he's responsible for making sure everyone understands vital factors and working with the managers that they know them. And then we combine the core values, 4 C's, 3 I's, our vital factors, along with Lencioni's model, 5 dysfunctions of a team, right? So we kind of combine all that stuff together, and that's Dan's job. So feel free to ask him some questions too, because he's more in the day-to-day on the vital factors itself. So this is Andrew. Dan, sorry to put you on the spot, buddy.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, threw you in the hot seat. Dan, tell us about, and nice to meet you, and thank you for joining. We were talking about how Arena Staffing uses MAP, and sort of just the different ways that you guys have used the vital factors, the Pareto principle, keeping people aligned, keeping people focused on leading and lagging. But like, maybe just in a few words, talk about how you infuse MAP into what you do.
Yeah, I mean, MAP's been a great tool in terms of managing everyone, getting everyone on the same page. Like, you know, it's always, you're kind of herding cats, right? With so many different personalities and work styles. And so this has just given us the opportunity to get everyone kind of headed in the right direction, and they all speak the same language. So we've really tried to uniform our vital factors this year across, you know, kind of the responsibility areas. And it's, I don't know if Dave mentioned, but for us, it's just taking emotion out of everything, like good and bad. It's just, hey, this is what we have to do every day. They know their vital factors. They know what they're responsible for. And so it's just been a great tool to kind of get everyone marching in the same direction, speaking the same language.
Yeah, I mean, Andrew, you know, it's kind of funny because I grew up in Orange City, Iowa, and I poured a lot of driveways back then because my dad was a school teacher and then did concrete. And so one of the analogies I would always use pre-MAP was, what's your sense of accomplishment? Because back then, when when I finished my day, I knew what my job is when I was pouring concrete or helping my dad pour concrete, right? So on days where we were ripping out the driveway, did we take the whole driveway out? Was it cleaned up so that our client wasn't upset that there was dirt everywhere or whatever, right? And then we would set up for the driveway. Hey, is the rebar in the right place? The sand is placed. It's whacker packer down. It looks good. The forms are cut. It's clean. We're ready for concrete. We're ready for the pour the next day. And then the next day we would pour the concrete and everything's done and it's great. You would have a sense of accomplishment at the end of each day. And I would share that example in recruiting. It's really hard, right? Because like on the direct hire side, you might not have a sense of accomplishment for a month, 2 months because you didn't get a fee, right? So what those vital factors did for us is, hey, what was your job today? What's the heartbeat? I talked about the heart, right? Like what did we need to get done, the vital few? At least when your head hits the pillow at the end of the night, did you do your job today? Right? A janitor at a school knows he needs to lock every door. He has to put everything away. He has everything, make sure everything's clean. They know a sense of accomplishment, right? So in staffing and recruiting, whether you're a manager, what are your vital factors so you can go home at night, spend time with your family, knowing you did your job that day? And that's where MAPS really helped us out with that question. Like, hey, what was my job today? Yep. That's
a great way to think about it.
Yep.
And think about focusing on the inputs versus the outputs, right? Because you're right. In some industries, it could be a month or 3 months or a year before you see the yield, but you still have to put in the work every day. And so it's really focusing on the inputs that are going to lead to that long-term outcome.
Yep, for sure.
It's hard to see.
Yeah, I mean, one of the books that, I was introduced by one of my inside sales guys a year ago that I absolutely love, and the majority of my company has read, is The Slight Edge, right? And The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson is the little things you do day in and day out, right? Mm-hmm. Those vital factors are the little things you do day in, day out, right? You heard me talking about those phone calls, right? Do 20, 99% of those phone calls aren't going to go anywhere, but it's the one that leads to something that turns into the next big account or the next direct hire fee or constructing the future of someone else. Absolutely.
We were talking on the pre-show about our kids are roughly the same age. I'm trying to teach these things to my kids, and it's hard to get that through the skull of a 16-year-old, but I'm still trying.
It's funny. I mean, I was watching a podcast a few weeks ago, and I liked Kurt. I love Kirk Cousins. I love his principles. I love how he lives his life, right? And obviously I was a Vikings fan because I grew up in the Midwest, right? But he talked about grit and attitude and effort, right? And you talk about performance matrix stuff, right? And your A players, right? As my kids go into sports in high school, right, the two things they control are attitude and effort, right? Mm-hmm. God bless them, some with natural talent, some whatever, but it's the same thing here, right? And your attitude and effort towards these vital factors, towards making these phone calls, towards all this kind of stuff matters. That's what I love about the system is we're not going off emotion like Dan says. There's like, well, we did this or this, like, boom, we can filter back and go, okay, what are the vital few? Are we doing what we said we were going to do, right? Yeah. We committed to doing this part of it. That's part of the 5 dysfunctions of a team, right? You talk about the trust and then the conflict and then the accountability and the commitment part of it. The vital factors are the commitments we're making, right? So we're building trust with each other, right? And then we're having a little conflict on what these vital factors should be. But once we decide, hey, Dan, this is what you're going to do. Dave, this is what you're going to do. Jimmy, this is what you're going to do. We make that commitment. And then MAP has that built-in accountability system with it, which leads to results. So it really works well on that side of it. And dude, we're still a work in progress. To say, I think, was it Lee always, or Carrie would always say, Dave, you're 30% implemented on MAP. They might say we're still only 50, 60%. Right? Because it takes years. It takes years. And a lot of, you have to adapt and change as you go on that part of it. And that's why we're looking at it on a regular basis.
Especially to push it through the organization. It's one thing to have it dialed in at the leadership team level, but really to get it like permeated through the entire organization as you grow, right? Hundreds of employees, like that, it takes time. Maybe just one more question, Dan, as you think about, your role there, like, how are you permeating this through all the different people at Arena Staffing, and like what kind of pushback or challenges do you see, and how do you get through that?
You don't get any pushback, do you?
I mean, to Dave's point, like, I don't know, it's hard to measure like how much has it permeated the whole organization. I would look back. I don't know if Dave realized this, but this is my 2nd year anniversary with him here today. And
Happy 2 years.
Today.
2-year anniversary.
So
Happy birthday.
Thanks, man. As we go back and look, like even just a year ago, there was a lot more pushback, right? Like people just didn't like me or anybody in their business, just let me alone and kind of stay in your lane. It would be, and so now it's just gotten to be part of the fabric, the expectation. And I think as even those that have pushed back early have seen success come from following the vital factors, and some of that success has been hard. It's been growth pains for them. But I think they've seen, wow, this really does benefit not only me, but everyone in my team as well to accomplish some bigger goals than they could have done alone. So, I mean, Dave mentioned the slight edge, like vital factors are it's mastering the mundane, right? Like getting out of bed, doing the little things every day. Clearly you work out. It's like they could just stay in bed and not do that stuff. But I think they're finding out that the vital factors are keeping them going in the right direction, going forward, when it would be easy just to be like, you know what, I'm going to call it. And a day, a week, a quarter slips by and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm not making any money right now. So it's way better today than it was a year ago, 2 years ago. It's become a part of the fabric here.
I really like what you just said. So we always say like meat and potatoes, blocking and tackling. Because look, a lot of this is just blocking and tackling, right? I like mastering the mundane. I think that's really good. It's a good phrase. Well, this is awesome, guys. Thank you so much. Really appreciate your time. Look, we have a lot of clients and people in our community that are in your industry. So if they wanted to learn more about Arena Staffing or you guys, where should they go?
Yeah, arenastaffing.net. Is where they can find us, or just go to Google or ChatGPT and type in skilled trade staffing plus Arena. It's a pretty easy name to remember. But yeah, we don't expect people to be calling us. We're going to call them because it's part of our vital factors. So we're going to go find them. But yeah, I mean, any referrals, we love referrals just like you guys love referrals, and it works. And we trust MAP. We trust the organization. And again, we didn't right away. It took time, right? But if you're on the fence about thinking about using MAP, call me, call Dan, let us know. We'll tell you about the struggles that we've gone through. And again, we're still trying to figure it out. So if someone else has stuff to share with us too, reach out to us because we're always willing to learn as well.
Awesome. Well, Dan, nice to meet you. Dave, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. And everybody, thank you for listening, and we will see you next time.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thanks, everyone.